Good afternoon, everyone. I've got 3 minutes after the hour. On behalf of the Army CA team, our boss, Mr. Steve Clare, our program manager, Sophia Sweeney, our team members, Dottie Heffelfinger, Kristen Clark, John Crabtree, and myself, Russell Gray. It is a pleasure to invite each and every one of you to join us today, and we're going to do a little talking about some updates and things that you all should be aware of dealing with the Army CA program. This will be a relatively short overview for the day, agenda and briefing. However, we have left plenty of time at the end for Q&A, so please, if you've got questions, you're more than welcome to go ahead and put those in the chat box, or you could raise your hand. You could ask a question at any time, and we'll go ahead and get started. Our agenda for the day, we're going to talk about knowing the difference of the different programs that are included on the Army side, the Army Cool link, how it affects you. We're going to go over the monthly approved vendor and credential review list. We're going to talk about overdue certifications of completion, our program manager notes by Mrs. Sophia Sweeney. We're going to give you some links and emails to be able to utilize. We're going to give you plenty of time for Q&A, and then we'll recap. Just to let everyone know that during the briefing today, we will be touching on a lot of subjects that have come up over the last couple months or the last month or so per se, things that we need to bring to your attention. So please feel free to ask those questions to make sure that you fully understand. That way, when we leave here, everybody's got a firmer understanding of what we need to do. All right, I'm going to the next slide here. So, knowing the difference, we still see a lot of instances where vendors are putting on their websites or referring to an email that they're a part of the Army Cool program. And that's just not true. Army Cool is the repository for all of the credentials that soldiers are eligible to pursue. Vendors are not listed on the Army Cool site. The Army Cool site has about 1,600 different credentials, and we highly urge you as a vendor to go out to the Army Cool site, and I'll hit that link here in just a second. But we highly encourage each and every one of you to look at this site before you add a credential to make sure that it is approved and an active credential for soldiers to apply for. Because if you put something on your application and a soldier can't find it because it's not on cool, they're not going to be able to find you to work with your program. So definitely make sure that that credential is approved before you put it onto your application. The Army Credentialing Assistance Team. Now, this is where you are a part of. You are a part of the Army CA program. The Army CA program is where soldiers will go out to and they will put in their request for the credentialing assistance side of the house for Army CA. They'll do that through the Army Ignited platform, which I'll touch on here in just a second. But remember, the Army CA program is what the vendors are a part of, not Army Cool. So when you're referring to the program, make sure you refer to it as Army CA or Army Credentialing Assistance. And then that last part down there on the bottom, Army Ignited. This is the website that everyone works out of currently to go through and put their information in the system where soldiers go in to put their CAR request, and everything gets funneled through for payment. And then, of course, the certificates of completion are uploaded here as well. So remember, Army Cool is like a library. It's a repository where all the credentials are held. Army CA is the program that you're a part of, and the system that everyone uses is Army Ignited, and that's where all the information is stored and pushed up for payment processes. Now, I was talking about Army Cool there again at the beginning. The link here and all these slides, and as well as the video recording, will be sent to each and every one of you at the end of this briefing. But that is the link right there where it needs to be your first stop when you come into the Army CA program to be able to put things on your application. Is this credential listed on on Army Cool. Yes, it's listed. Great, I can list it. If it's not listed, it even gives you an option under the contact us to recommend credentials be added. Now, I will tell you that process is not something that happens overnight. The vendors will receive a documentation to basically justify that you meet the requirements to be able to participate in the programs, because not only will your credential, if you're adding one, affect the Army soldiers, but it will also be made available to all the other services. So it has to be vetted and has to make sure that everything's good. You'll be requested to provide documentation such as syllabuses to put into the system to verify that you've got everything that you need and that you actually meet that credential. So just to know, Army Cool is your first stop when you're going and looking for that credential, and it also has a lot of great information that we'll touch on here a little bit later in the briefing. So what you should be doing each month, we're going to send you a link, usually around the second or third of the month. We try to get it out, but we're going to send you the links to it's going to take you to the Army Cool website, but it's going to take you to the credentialing assistance tab. And on that tab, you're going to be able to see the approved vendor list as well as the credentials that have been removed or added. And we want you to review this information, particularly the approved vendor list, to make sure that all the credentials that you have on there are correct. If there's credentials that need to be removed, you're going to mark those in red. Credentials that need to be added that may not be shown on there, you're going to mark those in green. Update your POC information if it's changed around, and then you'll send it back over to us. And that update will be available on the next month's release. As far as certificates of completion, remember that this is required by the vendors to update this upon course completion. A recommendation: as soon as that course is completed, go ahead and go in the system, put those certificates of completions in there for the soldiers. That way they don't get hit, because the soldier has to report within 10 days that they've completed the course from their course end date. If they do not complete that, or you do not submit that request on their behalf, they're going to start getting messages saying, hey, we may be looking to recoup the money back from you because you haven't provided a certificate of completion. So, with this being outlined in the MOA and being the responsibility of the vendor, we need you guys to help the soldiers out to make sure that they're not getting these messages and they're not being put into a panic. And to show you here, this is the approved vendor list, just an example that I have up here. You'll see here that on this one, they added the Lean Six Sigma yellow belt, so it's in green. And then, of course, they have a member who was no longer with them who is marked in red. So this is how we want you to take it. Take a snippet of your line, update your information, send it back over to us so that we can update it and have it ready for the next month's release.
There's a, there's a question, Russell.
There's Oh, okay. Oh, sorry about that. Hi, Miss Fisher. How are you?
Oh, I see
Miss
her
Fisher, do you have a
question.
question for us?
She has, I had a student who didn't complete the course, so I submitted a certificate indicating they did not complete the course. And is this good? Yes, that's absolutely correct. It's good if you put in there that they did not complete it.
And thank you for asking that. That's a great question. Is that the only question we're showing right now, Sophia?
Yep, that's it. But Ms. Fisher, can you put your hand down, please? Okay, you're good.
All right. So the certificate of completion that we were just talking about, and again, you can use this template. We will be more than happy to send this out to everybody at the end of training today. But if you already have your own version of a certificate of completion template, you're more than welcome to use that, as long as it highlights the soldier's name, the course or exam that they took, the start and end dates, the vendor name, the completion status, either they completed it or they failed, the signature of a representative of the company, and the date. Please make sure that all of that information is highlighted there. And like I said, I will be sending a copy of this out with the slides and everything at the end today, so you will have that. Uh, if you already have your own, we just ask that you have these items listed. All right, so we're going to change gears here a little bit. We're going to turn things over to our program manager, Mrs. Sophia Swinney, who has some great things that are coming that you need to be aware of. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Sophia Swinney.
Thank you, Russell. And hi, everyone. Hope you all are having a great day. Really appreciate you joining today's session. Next slide, please. Okay, it's still not coming up. It's kind of slow. Could be just, oh, there we go. So I know Russell talked about the certificate of completion, but I just want to make sure I reiterate the fact that it is the vendor's responsibility to upload the certificate of completion in the SODER's account, unless, and the only thing with this is if you are providing purchased vouchers from like CompTIA or Pearson VUE, we understand that's the SODER's responsibility to upload that certificate of completion. But for any other training, it is your responsibility to get that done. We had I received like some snow tickets or a snow ticket, I want to say yesterday, that asked, you know, basically was saying that the vendor didn't know that they were supposed to upload the certificate of completion. So just want to make sure you all understand it is your responsibility to upload that certificate of completion. And then going on to marketing, we still have, and I know Russell talked about this as well, we still have vendors who are still showing cool program on their websites instead of the Army CA program. So I've offered before, like if you wanted me to look at your site or your flyers, I can absolutely do that to make sure that you're not violating any of the, DOD instruction, or that, you're providing the correct information, okay? Because if we find it, we will ask you to take it down and fix it, okay? The other thing is installation access. I want to be very clear about installation access, right? So we have instances where SODERs will request, briefings from a vendor. Okay, so the same rules apply as it would for an education institution that has to request installation access before they can go onto the installation to provide any type of briefing. Vendors have to follow the same rules. So if you are asked by a soldier to provide a briefing, you have to go through the ESL. You have to request installation access to do that. Or if it's a group type of training that they want you to provide, again, that's through installation access. It has to be requested and approved, because you could be violating the installation access and DOTI as well. Kevin, you had a question?
Yes, ma'am. Recently was requested to go to an education fair on an Army installation. That's the Annex A, Annex B request format. That's simple template. Okay. My question is, Sophia, do we send that through a snow ticket and you send that to the ESO, or are we allowed to send that VFR direct to the ESO's office?
Absolutely, VFR direct to the ESO through SNO, right? So if they are inviting you to a career fair or education fair, you can absolutely attend, as long as you complete that installation access portion that they will ask for it anyway. So
right.
Yeah,
and that's not, and that's a one time, that's a each and every time. That's not a one request is good forever. Every time you got to go back, you got to put in another one, correct?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Just making sure. All right, thanks.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm glad you asked that question, because that does clarify some others might have that same question. So thank you. So again, I just want to make sure, even if you're giving a group training somewhere else, but it is for a whole unit or organization, that could be also viewed as, a violation, right? So any type of group type training, or maybe a unit had group fund, or were originally going to fund it with unit funds, but then they changed their mind and said, well, you guys can all submit CA requests. That still can be a violation. So again, if you have those type of situations, please, you can always ask the question. I'll let you know whether it is something or not. Also, let me see, there's something else I wanted to talk about for installation access. Now, if you were, let's just say you gave, excuse me, if you put out some type of info session that was free to everybody to join, anyone, doesn't matter, soldier, civilian, whoever, right? And that's posted all over the place, whether it be on your websites, LinkedIn, wherever. You post that out there. People from all over attend, and then you have set specific dates that might be great for a certain group. It's totally fine as long as everyone is welcome to attend that course and it's not specific to any one unit or group of soldiers, right? So if they are, and again, this is also an off-duty, CA is off-duty training, but I understand because some people have trainings that are during the day. Well, during the day for us might be off-duty for someone overseas. That's totally fine. So just understand that, if a soldier is doing this during duty hours, they're going to have to, take leave, whatever. I mean, it's totally up to them, however they do it. They know it's off-duty training. So I'm just putting that out there because I've had that question before where some ESO have thought that, oh, well, no, they're offering this course during the day. No, maybe it's during the day, but that doesn't mean it's not off duty for someone else. Totally the vendor that can do that. Kevin?
Yes, ma'am. So let me give an example of what happened, and I make sure you can talk us through this, okay?
Sure.
A guard unit, okay, because typically they're not there Monday through Friday except when they got their MUTA weekends and things like that. Guard unit contacts us and says, can you give us a webinar during our command information time? We say yes. Now, the problem is I can't send a Teams invite to that unit because the Netcom guys don't let that happen. The unit has to send who's ever going to brief their Teams link, just like you sent us the Teams link today and we came into your meeting room. That they have to send that out to whoever they want to brief and then give them presenter rights once they're there. Does that make sense? And does that violate anything that you've been talking about here?
So that is a unit brief, right? If they're asking for you to do this at the unit, that is a no.
That is correct. They got everybody coming in on a weekend and they want to do a command information session, and they got different entities, everybody from Red Cross to you name it, all coming in back to back briefing, during command information sessions, and you might get asked to be one of those people that briefs. Yep. Correct.
I totally understand, but the answer is that is a violation. So if you happen to have a similar info session for everybody and they happen to chime in during their time, but that briefing is open to every person out there, not just this one specific unit, then it wouldn't be a violation. But the second you create this info session specifically for this unit, that is a violation.
Okay, but remember now, I didn't create the session. They created the session and asked us to become a part of it. But if that still requires an installation access request, then I'm thinking what I'd do is I'd fill out the Annex A or Annex B form, run it through that unit organizer, and have them run the interference with the ESO to get the check in the block that says, yay, verily, you can brief at that session.
Absolutely. That is what you should do.
Okay, can do.
Okay, perfect. All right. Any other questions on installation access? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and move on. CA request deadlines for soldiers. Now, this message is going to go out. No, it has not gone out yet to soldiers. I'm pre-warning all of you all just because it is going to come out. But regarding the last day for soldiers to submit CA requests, the last day any soldier can submit CA request for FY22 is going to be 31 July. 31 July, all day long, we can accept CA requests. Nothing after 1 August, right? So if we get something at 0300 on 1 August, it will be rejected. Okay, everything must be submitted before the end of 31 August, July. I'm so sorry, July. That, but those start dates for any of those CA requests must be before or on 30 September, right? If there's anything for October, it's an absolute no and will be rejected. Okay, classes can start totally fine in September. Like I said, last day for submission is 31 August. The last start date for any of these CA requests is 30 September. That's the last date. So any date between now and 30 September is good to go for a start date. Okay, start dates can be in September, no issues there. Anything for October will not be accepted. So currently, and this goes into our next, let me see what's, okay. Okay, so I think I answered that question. Perfect. Okay, I see a hand that's raised. Do you have a question, Diana?
Yes, ma'am. So if they start on September 30, they will end then in October.
Totally
Is that
fine.
allowed?
Absolutely. They can absolutely start on 30 September and end 29 September 2023. 1 calendar year from that end date.
Got it. I have some revisions to do.
Okay.
My noted says they must end by September 30 for this fiscal year.
Oh, no, absolutely not. No, they have 1 calendar year from their start date to complete it, as long as they have that time in service.
Got it. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, Danita. Do you have a question? Okay, she said, when will the next session open? Okay, so we have not provided the new FY 23 dates, right? So usually so normally we have done it like in the past where you have to no more CA request for FY20, whatever the year is, and it's usually like in August, mid-August, and then we would start the new process for the next fiscal year about a few weeks after that. Well, this time we cannot give you a date yet, okay? There's upcoming changes to the process that will take place, throughout the last month, September, October timeframe. And so processes are going to change on the CA request and also for vendors, right? And how you enter your information, that kind of stuff. But that actually, so that's why we're not giving you an actual start date. So we will not accept any submissions for FY23 until we announce that date, right? So I will tell you, and I've told this to the other group before, the safe time for any soldier to start in FY23 may be the very last week in December or the beginning of January. So that means there's going to be this gap in time where no CA requests will be accepted or paid for the next fiscal year. Okay, let me go to 1 second, Kevin, I got you, but let me answer these questions real quick. So can we not start any classes in October at all, correct? Correct, Cameron. There will be no start dates in October that will be accepted. And then Roxanne asked, what is the turnaround time for the educational reps to contact university POCs for payment? So let me ask you for some clarification on that one. Are you talking about our finance team? You said educational reps to contact.
Yes. Hi, this is Roxanne with the University of the Incarnate Word. You know, I get requests from some of the soldiers that they are interested in taking a course with us, right? And I tell them, okay, well, get your permission, you know, get it approved on your site, submit the paperwork, and then once it's all approved and everything by your representative, have them contact me so that they can pay the university for payment. I know that last year, one of the educational reps did contact me and they submitted payment via credit card, right? They as in the Army rep, right? So I'm just wondering, you know, because sometimes the soldiers will ask, well, how long is it going to take for my educational rep to call you? I'll go, well, it's really up to them to contact me, you know? So I'm just wondering, you know, does that vary from base to base or?
Well, what I will tell you. What I would tell you is that right now we have a shortage of staff, and it seems like I tell you guys that quite often, and that's the unfortunate thing. I hate to have to say that, but unfortunately we are short-staffed. So right now we have only two and sometimes 3 people that can pay. And then right now we're almost down to 2 people for processing cases. So everything is kind of like we are taking the full 30 business days to process and pay cases. So when the soldiers ask that question, because they ask the same thing to us on snow tickets, and the answer I always give them is that, you know, I'll tell them, you know, okay, well, at this point we're working on cases that have start dates of like 20 June, right? So it's going to take you a while to see anything from our team. So what I would recommend you tell them is it can take up to the day of the start date to receive the notification from the CA team or, you know, for payment. But they all get emails, and those emails go directly to whatever email they put in their Army Ignited account. And sometimes those emails can go to the spam folder. So tell them to check there if they want, or you know, if they go to the cool website, right, and then into the CA page, if they downloaded the CA soldier process, they would see that how to check. They can check the process, right? So they can see whether it's pending payment or it still hasn't been worked or it already was paid for. It's in those slides. So Russell, would you be able to please pull that up? If you send them there and tell them, hey, you can find out yourself whether something has been worked or hasn't been worked, or, you know, that's always a good way to get them to, you know, figure it out on their own. So there's the CA page. And so if they go to the CA page and they download the Soldier CA Process Guide, it has everything possible you can think of right there. That tells them how they can find out the status of their case, and, you know, all the way through like how you can withdraw, how you can submit, how you can request custom. Everything is in that Soldier CA Process Guide. I know that's a long answer, but did that help you?
Yes, it did. It did. And just for clarification, then Sophia, the Army-based representative will contact me, right, and submit payment via credit card, because that's the way it was done last year. Is that process still going to be okay?
Our finance team. So there's only one place that processes and pays for cases, and that's here at Fort Knox, our team, the CA team. So none of the ed centers have anything to do with the processing or payments of CA. So you will receive emails or contact from our finance team here.
Got it. Yes, that answers my question. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, and I think I answered Anita's question about the next session. We have not given that out. Let me see who else has. Okay, Kevin.
I think I'm going to wait till you put up the chart that says the why the process is changing. Otherwise, I'm going to be a good straight man.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so
I know you. I know you love me. I know you.
As far as the process is changing, yes. we're going to, and I'm sure some of you have already seen this information, have already heard, we are moving, basically, we're going to move from what we have to 2. This is Army Ignited 1.0. We're going to move to Army Ignited 2.0, which is going to be a different system, right? However, we're working the process and working all the process to make this as seamless as possible for any of you. We don't know all the details. We know that things will change. There should be some seamless processes in the works, but you will be notified as soon as we know what is going to take place. Okay, so I'm just putting it out there that yes, there are some things that you may have to do again or not, right? Or not. There's a possibility you might not have to, but there is a possibility you might have to do some additional changes. But we will, again, once we know everything, you will be the first people we tell.
Okay, I think I'm ready now for the question, Sophia.
Okay, hit me.
Here we go, strap in. Okay.
Mhm.
So, I heard from John being on this morning's session that this process is not going to happen overnight. This process is what you alluded to a little bit ago, where you said it may be until December before any new applications are accepted to be processed. Is that a correct statement?
No. Any cases to be paid to have a start date in the last week of September.
Right.
So that means they would be able to submit sometime in November-ish.
Okay.
So really, if you think about it, last year in Army Ignited, we didn't accept any cases to start until like
There was about a 45-day
Oh,
gap because of
right.
closing out the FY and reloading and getting money down from Army and loading it into the program to start the next FY.
Right. So it's going to be a little bit longer than we normally do it, a little bit longer. But yeah, so and again, could start earlier, could start a little bit later.
Okay.
We will keep you all informed and not let you go without knowing.
Is it a true statement that the Army Ignited 2.0 is really the same system that Air Force Cool and MyCAA uses, the AI DoD portal?
That is the new portal.
Okay.
But it is Ignited 2.0.
Right. Now, I don't know why, but I'll tell you, maybe it's because I put the craziest search engine SEO words, out there, but I probably get 6 to 10 calls a day that are tuition assistance calls. And I refer them to tuition assistance help desk number. Okay. But because Army Ignited 1.0 was serving TA, does that mean that TA that would be processed for any college course for anything coming up in the fall semester is about to go on? Is it possible that there'll be no fall semester enrollments because TA won't be available?
I can't answer on TA. That's a different program. So you'd have to listen to those EI calls to find that information out.
Okay.
I can't speak on
I'll
that.
just refer them to the TA help desk then, because sometimes these two are linked to the hip because of the funding stream and when it gets applied. But I understand, I understand the history too of when we moved everything, we started everything in Army Cap on Ignited. Then we brought over all the TA records into the Army Ignited platform. Okay. So I realize that. Okay. So what I think I hear you telling me is sometime later in the fall, you're probably going to say, okay, we can now accept new applications in this FY, and it'll be the standard 30 business days out for our approved start date. Is that a correct statement?
So there'll be 30 business days out. Yes.
Right. And so those approval to start dates might happen 30 business days from November, or might start happening in November for possible start dates. I'm just trying to figure out from a supporting soldiers and from a vendor, from a revenue standpoint, how many months we're gonna not see helping soldiers.
Well, so I think, the helping soldiers, that's always going to take place. And I'm sure that their start dates for TA might be a little different than ours, right? However, start dates, like I was saying earlier, to be safe, rather than having soldiers get rejected, it's easier if you have start dates that begin either the last week of December or in January. Okay, so that's just safe. I'm not giving you an actual date on when they will be able to start submitting CA requests. I can't give
Right.
you that date yet. Could be earlier, could be like right on time like we normally do every year, or it could be a little bit later. I'm just telling you what's safe.
Right. So what I'm hearing you say is October, November, December, potentially 90 days of no new starts.
Ish, yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Understood, ma'am. Okay.
Yep.
And then I think one of the things that you alluded to about the process is that you hope, but you don't know yet. You know, as a vendor, we may or may not be required to reload all of our stuff again into some other portal.
Yep. You may
Now
or may not.
let me ask you this, because we participate in Air Force School and my CAA
Yep.
in that same portal. Many of these same credentials we have now are already in that portal. Will that help us, or will it still require us to load from scratch, or is that in the I don't know yet pile?
Don't know yet, but we have already brought up these questions to make sure that if there is anything possible that can be done for the vendor, not to have to reload or do anything like that, that is where we're going. That's what we're looking for. But I, again, can't give you any more information than what I've just given you because I don't have all the answers yet.
Understand. Just to make you aware, and it's a different type of thing. Is that, you know, in the IT world, they're constantly changing to the next exam. Okay.
Yep.
For case in point, CompTIA Network Plus went from 007 to 008. Okay. Making that change with you was pretty agnostic. It wasn't that big a deal. But on that other portal side, we had to wait for their vendor to load that new exam, that new credential in the cool system, so that when we loaded the program, it would go, oh yeah, that's the new one. Yeah, do that. That caused, on the Air Force side, 60 to 70 days of delay for airmen to get anything approved because their system wouldn't recognize it because somebody hadn't loaded it yet. That's important as you're talking to that entity, to realize that with all these things that you're now going to migrate over for your credentials, when those change to the next, you know, from credential A, now it's A.1 or A.2, that has to be top loaded from somebody on the inside, some other contractor that goes into the portal and loads that from the top down. When that doesn't happen on a timely basis, nothing can happen, because when your guys go to approve it, you won't even see it because it's not even there yet. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That's a systemic must watch out for in this migration.
Roger.
Okay.
Okay. Good. Outstanding. Okay. So I think I have covered just about everything on my list. Is there any other questions before I pass it back over? And Anita, you still have your hand up. I'm assuming that you just are unable to put it down. Oh, are you able to put it down? Oh, yay. Okay, perfect. So if no other questions, I'm still here. I'm just going to pass it back over to Russell. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie. I greatly appreciate that. And those some good questions that we had there, some good Q&A. And I'm going to push over to the links and email page here. Again, all of you will have access to this, but this is just a gee whiz, kind of help you out if you need it in the background. If for some reason you're trying to submit a snow ticket and you have issues trying to get in through your Army Ignited account to submit the snow ticket, there's the link to be able to do that. Also, if you can't get a snow ticket in, you can send it to our team at the email they're provided. The link for Cool, where all the credentials are listed, is the next link down. And then the credentialing assistance page on Army Cool. This is where all the great information that we just got through showing you, the there we go, the soldier CA process guide, the vendor CA process guide. This is where we're going to send you the link to every month, where you can go and check your approved vendor list and the Army Cool credentials added and removed list. This is great information for you to use if you need brochures or something, or they're all right here. All of this is right here, free for you to utilize. So this is a great point of contact for each and every one of you to be able to link into. So you have that. Excuse me. Also, DoD logos and guidelines. Here's the link for this. Please make sure that you've read this documentation before you put any of the services logos out there or any of the services programs out there. Make sure you're abiding by the trademark guidance and rules that's listed on the DoD logos guideline. For information about installation access, we talked a little bit about that today. You can do that through Army Ignited. It has to be submitted via a snow ticket. And then, of course, there's some still having issues with their cage code, or if you have a new individual coming in to take over a position and may not have dealt with that before, here's the link to be able to go and research your cage code on sam.gov. We do not govern the cage code process, so make sure you contact sam.gov if you're having issues with that code. Now, we have had issues where vendors have said that their cage code isn't updating. We understand that. We've let our technical team know, and you can send us a snow ticket regarding that. If it's not uploading correctly for you, we can send that over to the technical team and get them to take a look at it for you. All right, so a recap. We talked about knowing the difference between the three programs. We went over the Army Cool link for each and every one of you. We talked about the monthly approved vendor and credential review list, overdue certificates of completions. Mrs. Sweeney went over the program manager notes. We just went over the links and emails, and we're going to end this off giving each and every one of you plenty of time for Q&A if you happen to have any questions. So with that, we'll turn it to you and let you start asking your questions. I see that your hand just popped up there, Mr. Smith.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I was more of a question on the giving briefs about the program to soldiers. For example, one of my old battle buddies from while I was in wants me to come to his unit to pretty much tell them about the CA and Cool program. It seemed like there was some sort of like restrictions on what I'm allowed to do there. If I'm invited to a unit to speak to them in person, is that an issue?
Hi there, Cameron. Yes, that's an issue. That would be violating the installation access policy. So you could do it as long as you go through the ESO to get clearance.
Even though I have because I have base access to all bases still.
Doesn't matter. I'm
Okay.
retired as well. I can access every post, but it doesn't mean I can give a brief at every
Okay.
place to promote my programs, right? So you have to submit installation access request for any time you want to go to an installation to brief your program. You can go on post all day long to go to the PX, commissary, whatever, but the second you decide to brief your program, that requires installation access and approval.
Okay, and if I do have installation access and approval, is there an issue with me doing it then?
Yes, if it's cleared, then you're fine to give the brief.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mhm.
See here, we have a question from Miss Rachel. We had a soldier receive funding for a course and then decided he did not want to take that course with us after all. Is there a way for us to give the unused $4,000 back to the Army?
So, Rachel, I had talked about this earlier on the Soder CA process guide. There's a process on how they can request to withdraw. You know, Soders will say, hey, I don't want to take this course anymore, but they signed a statement of understanding agreeing to the terms and conditions of the CA program. there's a policy on all of this. They can't just say, well, I don't want to do it anymore. And, the vendor says that they'll give the money back. If there is a valid reason for the withdrawal, they must submit that valid reason and complete that form they'll find in their CA request. Once that's all approved, if I determine that it is an actual valid reason for the withdrawal, then I will reach out to you and ask you to provide the refund. If I don't ask you for that refund and you see on your account that, or on your vendor queue that soldier's withdrawal is rejected, then you're not having to give that money back. Does that make sense? Yeah, I get questions sometimes where the soldier will say, well, I don't feel like that class, did anything for me and so forth. So I want to withdraw, or I want to change to another vendor. Well, if he did that for everybody, I mean, that would be quite a taxing thing, right? So the answer is, if it's a valid withdrawal, yep, then we'll let you know. I have a soldier that is doing a 30-day NTC. He asked for a hold on his program. Can you go over the process? So, Juan, for that, there's a couple of things that soldier can do, right? The soldier can request an extension, again, found in that soldier CA process guide. They can request an extension to go past that date, but if they have used up, more than a year, they can attempt to withdraw. But again, if you have a course that's lasted a whole year and you've been gone for 30 days, that's not a valid withdrawal. And I would not be requesting or approving a withdrawal like that. So they can absolutely request an extension. If they have the time, we can absolutely do that. Does that answer your question? Perfect. Okay.
Any other questions out there in the field for us today? Well, amazing. Well, thank each and every one of you for joining us today. We greatly appreciate everything that you do for not only the Army CA program, but for our soldiers at large. You have no idea the impact that you make on their lives, being able to gear toward their decision to pursue a credential or licensure. So thank each and every one of you for what you do. I will be posting the YouTube links for this morning's video and this afternoon's video here shortly, along with the slide deck and the certificate of completion template. So I've already got that up and ready to go. All I have to do is download this video and then upload it to YouTube, and then I'll get that over to you all. So if there's nothing further, thank each and every one of you for everything that you do, and we look forward to continue working with you. Army CA out.